Hello! I'm going to show you a update to Steve's Carts 2. This update is about tanks, so tanks in a cart. We have a generic update for all the tanks, but we also have a specific one about the creative tank, but more to that later on in this video. So first of all, we can take a look on these tanks. Nothing special with them. Empty, 0 out of 8,000, empty out of 0 out of 32 and so on. So what's special with this update? Well, we will see that as soon as we add some fluids or some liquids to these tanks. Now we can take a look, and it says click to lock to this fluid. What does that mean? Well, let's click to lock then. And it's going to say lock to this fluid, click to unlock. What is that? Well, that means that this side tank has been locked to lava. That means that you can only have lava in it and nothing else, so we can't put water in it or something like that. But it's not special. If you have lava in a tank, in the past you couldn't add water to it anyways. That's of course still the case, but if we take the lava out of there, or maybe we use up all the lava, we're going to have 0 out of 8,000, but it's not going to be considered empty. These tanks are empty, but this one is lava 0 out of 8,000. So what does that mean? Well, that means that even if it's empty, we can't add water to it, but we of course can add lava like that. Pretty nice. So there you go. And of course, if we add water here, we can lock that one, and that means that we won't let's bring that out again. That means that even though we have locked it and we remove the water, we can't put lava in there. So let's bring this one out here as well, like so. So what should we use this for? Well, let's send this to this liquid manager. This liquid manager has been loaded up with 4 buckets of water and 4 buckets of lava, and it's going to move that to the cart when we send it along. We have 4 tanks, and they are all looking empty, but we have locked 2 of them. The first one is locked to lava, and the second one is locked to water. The other ones are just empty, so they are not locked to anything. So now we start to move the water like that, and that's going to end up in the second tank, even though the first one was empty. The first one was indeed empty, but it was not considered empty because it was locked to lava. That means that we couldn't put the water in the first tank, and therefore it was put in the first tank that it could end up in, which was the advanced tank. Of course, if the advanced tank would have been locked to water but have been completely unlocked and empty, then it would go there anyways. So you obviously don't have to lock it to put a fluid in there, but if you have locked it to a specific fluid, then nothing else can go in there. And as we saw, the lava ended up here, even though we pumped into water before. If we added like 5 buckets of lava more, it would simply go here. The last bucket would go there because that one is empty, it's not locked to anything, and therefore we can add any liquid in there, any fluid in there. Of course, if we started added lava, then we can't add water unless we remove the lava as well. But the special thing with locking is that even if we remove the fluids, then we can't add another type just because it's locked. Then you can of course just unlock it by clicking on it. So that was the generic update. Very handy when you work with, for instance, advanced thermal engines. Now we can make sure that you always have 1 tank specifically for lava and 1 tank specifically for water, or if you want to, maybe 2 tanks specifically for lava and 2 tanks specifically for water. I don't know. So what about the other update, the update with the Creative Engine? If you didn't know, the Creative Engine is one of the creative modules. The creative modules, including Creative Engine, Creative Tank, Creating Hull, and these 2 as well, are basically testing modules that you can use only in creative mode. The engine, for instance, supplies you with power without you having to give it any type of fuel, and the tank is simply a huge tank. You can store 2 million buckets. Otherwise it works exactly the same as the internal one, or well, that's how it has been working in the past. Now we have some updates to it, so let's take a look. It looks a bit different, but before we get going with that, I want to point out that it's of course still a tank. We can lock it like anything else. Right, so now we can see its current creative mode is normal. That means that it's going to work like a normal tank. That's how it has been doing in the past, and you can set it to work like that as well. It's by default it's going to work like a normal tank, but if we right click, it's going to go to this mode, the always full mode. That means that it's always going to be full of the time we gave it. So I gave it lava, it's going to fill itself with, well, now it has 2 million buckets of lava. That's quite a lot. So now we can do whatever we want with this. To test this out, what I'm going to do is tell this liquid manager to move the liquids from the cart to the manager. So let's go. So of course it's going to start with the first tank, and then it's going to take the second, and so on. So we'll take a look as soon as it's done with these two first ones. As you can see, it's just filling up here. And now when it's done with those, it's obviously going to take the lava from the created tank, and that's what we can see here. But of course, since we marked this as always full, it's not going to affect the created tank. It's just going to keep it always full. So now we have an infinite amount of lava, or actually an infinite amount of any fuel that we can imagine, or well, that we have in the Forge mod. So if you want an infinite amount of lava for, I don't know, your incinerator, for your thermal engines, for testing of course, maybe you want an infinite amount of oil for your refineries to test some setups there, I don't know, an infinite amount of some fluids, then you can do so with the created tank. Just set it to always full mode, and it's never going to empty itself out, and we can just pump out more and more like so. But that's not the only mode. So we have normal, but then if we and always full, and then if we right click once more, we're going to go to always empty mode. That means that it's always going to be empty. And how does that work exactly? Well, let's move all of these things in the opposite direction, like this. And as we can see now, I hope we have enough lava. Yeah, we do have enough lava. It's of course it's going to fill these guys up first, but as we can also see, this is locked to water, and well, to speed it, yeah, I was too slow. I was going to say that we could speed it up by locking that to water as well. But we're filling these guys up with lava, but of course that's not enough. We had 32 buckets in this first part of the liquid manager, but we only had 16 in those two tanks, and therefore we're filling up the creative tank at the moment by draining this lava. Or are we? No, of course not. It's set to be always empty, so when you add fluids to it now, it's just going to remove them completely. So if you have a lot of fluids when testing, obviously, and you want to get rid of those, you can just put them into the created tank when it's set to being always empty. So maybe you want to use the liquid cleaner to remove the liquids from the world, or well, they are called fluids these days. Then you can do so and just have a created tank to just suck it all up, remove it all like that, and it's simply going to destroy the fluids, and that's pretty much it. So now you can have an infinite amount of a fluid, and you can also remove everything that you pump into it. But we have a combination, which is the always half mode, which basically is going to keep it at 1 million buckets at any time. So if we well, grab 2 lava buckets here, it's not going to affect its level. It's still 1 million buckets, and if we add a bucket there, it's not going to affect its level anyways. So that's basically a combination of the always full and the always empty one. We can drain how many buckets that we want from the tank, but we can also put in how many buckets that we want into the tank without having to bother about it. Of course, if we have set it to always full, then we can't put any buckets into it, and if we have set it to always empty, then we can't drain anything out of it. So here we have the combination where we can do both. If we want to go back, we can't just right click. That's just going to loop through these different things here. We can refill it like that, and as you can see, we also lost the lava when we went past the empty one. But of course, if we go into locked mode, then we can easily just loop through, because now when it goes empty, it's still going to remember that we had lava, and then when we go to the always half mode, we will of course refill it again. But if we shift right click instead, we'll go back to the normal mode like so. And the reason why we do that is so we can just go to the mode that we want before going back, and then we will keep that amount. That means that if we want to test something where we actually want to drain fluids, we want to be able to put in fluids and so on. So we want it to be working normally, but we still don't want it to be empty. Maybe we want to be at half at the moment, but without having to give it 1 million buckets. Then we can simply go to half mode there, and then shift right click and go back, so we have that amount there. Or if we want to empty it out because we're done testing here and we want to do some other tests, then just go to the empty mode, shift click, and then we will go out here and we have an empty one. And of course it's set to lava because I locked it. Just left click to unlock it, and it's going to be empty like any other tank. So that's pretty much it. So now we have the locking of tanks, so you can specifically say this is a lava tank, this is a water tank, this is for anything that's not locked. And then we have some more advanced things with the creative tank if you want to do some more advanced testing with infinite fluids, or an infinite disposal of fluids, or a combination of those two, or if you want to just keep it as a normal tank, setting it to the normal mode. But that's about it. Thanks for watching.